Welcome back to Nerds with a Creative Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Charlie Morris, joined by my co-host,
Dalton Lewis.
And we have a special guest today, Dalton.
Hey, Bryan Fandrey.
Yes. Introduce yourself. Tell the people what you do, who you are, your life story.
Okay, well, I wear a lot of hats depending on the day. So
He's not wearing a hat today for any audio listeners.
No hat today. But I usually wear a lot of different hats. So I do photography. I do some videography. I do a little bit of graphic design here and there too, some motion design stuff. I'm learning 3D, and I also have some experience with like lighting design and live production as well, like video directing, camera operating, etc. So currently working at First Baptist Church Woodstock on the production team. So I will mix audio occasionally as well and do kind of a lot of live production and setup stuff there. And then on the side, I freelance photo and video. Like I said, I shoot concerts, I shoot at churches, I do portraits, I do engagements, weddings, proposals. And then for video, I do like real estate stuff, event recaps. I've done some shows with video as well. I've done a lot of different things. So
You also have done proposals with video as well.
He said
Correct.
proposals.
Yes, I have
No,
done
he said that
proposals
in
with video
photos.
as well.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I distinctly remember putting you in a set of bushes
Yeah.
with a 70 to 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
You did do that.
That was hilarious.
For what? Why would you put him in a bush, Dalton?
When I proposed.
When Dalton proposed. Of course.
Speaking of proposals, Bryan also engaged.
Are you about to... Okay, I thought you were about to propose to Bryan. I was gonna
Bryan also engaged. So that's a pretty new development.
Way to go.
Thank you.
He liked it. He put the ring on it. I'm assuming, unless he proposed without one. Completely understandable in this economy.
No, I did propose with the ring.
Okay.
We're good.
Gotcha. I feel like I'd be nervous to do that. Like, be like, what if this ring sucks? I don't know.
Well, she helped pick it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
like
Yeah.
we went and browsed together, and she's like, "Okay, so this is kind of what I want." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we decided. I went back like 2 days later and bought it.
I remember you texted me about that.
Yeah.
You're like, "Yep, I'm going back today."
Yeah. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it
Good
was.
times.
That was a very interesting day. A fun little bit of information from that day. I almost ruined the entire thing like 30 seconds before it happened. So I had a group text with you and Michael, the photographer and the videographers, and I told them I would text them when I'm about to walk up to the spot that I was about to propose at. As I'm walking, Celeste is already super suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
I open my texts and quickly, just out of nervousness, quickly text, turn in the corner, get ready, like whatever. I didn't realize until I turned my screen off, put my phone back in my pocket, and then I realized, oh no, Celeste was my last open text.
Oh no!
I just texted her right around the corner. It's about to happen. Get ready. And so she's like, "Oh, my phone's right." Goes to check. I like grab it out of her hand, and I'm like, "No, you can't look at this right now. You gotta be in the moment, whatever." And so I was like, "No, you can't look at your phone right now. I'll get back to you later." Yeah. And so I was this close to just absolutely ruining it, as if she didn't know it was already happening.
Yeah. But that would have been like just a little bit more, just terrible.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so what got you started on the photo video thing, whatever,
Photo, video, audio, Lightroom, 3D graphics. You could cut out that clip and just use it as your resume at all future applications.
What got you started in creative? Mine was the gaming videos. So what was yours?
Mine was actually gaming videos too. I don't know if we talked about this. Yeah. So gosh, how long ago was this? This was like 2012, 2013 or something. Like Minecraft was picking up. Like I started watching YouTube as a kid, watching Minecraft videos. I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14 when I started watching, maybe 12 or 13 when I started watching this. Watched them for a few years. Was like, I could totally do this. Like, this is so easy. So I played League of Legends with a bunch of friends a lot. I was homeschooled too, super flexible. So I was like home all day. Got my school done in the morning, had the rest of the day to do whatever. So I spent that time playing League of Legends with people on Skype. And so Skype. Oh, yeah. So I started, I eventually decided, okay, I'm going to try to do this. So I downloaded Lightworks to video editing, free video editing software, which is really interesting. If you've ever edited anything in anything, Lightworks is like none of those other programs at all.
I distinctly remember that.
Yeah, so I downloaded like OBS or Bandicam or something and downloaded Lightworks, and I made a few YouTube videos, and I did that for about a year. I got like 100 something subscribers. I edited one video. So League of Legends has a world championship every year in like October, November. I edited like a video that was like a hype video for the world championship one year, and I had to put it on Vimeo because I used copyrighted music. But
like,
I posted
was this officially like for the world championship?
This
or was
was
it just like
a
I'm
fan-made
excited?
video? Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
just like, hey, I'm excited. I see people make these all the time.
I mean, why wouldn't you be? You know?
Yeah, I'm gonna make one. It got 100,000 views.
That's
on
crazy.
Vimeo.
On Vimeo?
On Vimeo, it has 100,000
That's really impressive.
views. So that was wild. So that was a couple years into me, or a year or so into me doing YouTube. But I did YouTube consistently for like a year and a half, and then I started getting involved at my church. I had never held the camera before, like for real. Like we had an old Hi8 camcorder at home, and that was all I had ever interacted with. I go to my church, they hand me a camera and push me out the door, and are like, all right, go point the camera at these kids for VBS and record our highlight video. I'm like, okay, cool. So I got like one piece of feedback, which is like, hey, make sure their faces are in frame after I went back the first morning. And I was like, okay, cool. And that was it. That was all I got. So I just had to figure it out that whole week. I shot a few camps for Woodstock. I interned with them for a few years. And doing social media for 2 or 3 years. During that internship is when I picked up photo as well. So I was shooting videos for the high school ministry, social media, like intern for high school. Picked up photos in the middle of that, and then also in the middle of that was when I shot my first concert, which was the Friends and Family Tour with Andy Mineo and Social Club Misfits, where Marty had a wedding that day, I think, so King's Kaleidoscope covered. So that was where I became a King's Kaleidoscope fan, too, which is cool.
Fun piece about that night.
Yes.
Bryan is one of the reasons I'm a part of the music industry
wild
today.
To me.
Because I went there with my dad. Because my dad... huge Mineo fan. That's like his favorite rapper.
Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Andy Mineo.
Shout out Michael. Shout out Michael. Shout out Andy. Anyways,
absolutely.
But we go to this show, and like he was just at first was just kind of like, all right, I'm just taking you to this show because you can't drive, whatever. And as soon as the show started, he's kind of like he was bumping it. As soon as King's Kaleidoscope came out there, he was like, yo, this is crazy. And so, because that night specifically, they were like doing this whole run of like hymns. And so my dad, with his like Southern Baptist self, was like, oh man, this is crazy. But no, and so that whole night was crazy. And I had been shooting stuff for years at that point, but never once had it crossed my mind, I should shoot photos for this, or I want to shoot photos like that. I think at the time, I didn't even think I was allowed to have Instagram. So I didn't even see like pictures on their socials or anything like that. And so I went to that, and I saw you there walking around with the camera. Yeah. And like I was used to going to concerts and seeing like the like much older photographers that were like staffed or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, all right, whatever. But I saw you, I was like, that dude's got to be like within like 2 to 3 years of my age, and he's doing this. Yeah. That's sick. If this guy's here shooting this, maybe that's like not a super far out of reach thing that I can do. I'm gonna give it a shot. And like I didn't know who you were or talk to you until like a year after that, and then I found out that was you,
because we were at the Social Club show. I was shooting the Social Club show like 6 months later, and you were the kid at the front with the phone on a gimbal that Marty still references to this day, probably.
Yeah, I definitely got a reputation from that show. There are artists that still are like, yeah, you're the one that had the cell phone on the gimbal. And the part that they clowned me about more is the fact that it was an Android on the gimbal. It was like
I remember it was a Samsung, right?
It was like
I remember seeing it.
He's been converted. It
was a Samsung Note 5 of all things.
Oh my god!
And had the thing because the
times.
rule was no professional cameras.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, I'm putting the phone on the gimbal rig. And so there are artists.
Was that the really
still
crappy
clown me.
gimbal you had when you were in like middle school and
Yeah.
it like shook around all the time?
Yeah.
Man, that thing didn't stabilize jack squat.
Isn't that the one that's? I think it's still in your closet. Is it not?
No, I meant like the one you had before that.
No, that was the first one I had.
No, you had one that you held like a bar, and it would just like whoosh around all the time.
No, like the weight-based one.
Yes, exactly.
No, not
that was
that
not
one.
counterbalanced at all.
No. This was the one that you have, that old Zhiyun. It was like the first Zhiyun gimbal that they made.
Yeah, we should sell that.
It's a historic piece at this
Yeah.
point.
And so I had it there, and like there are people to this day that are still like, bro, the dude with the gimbal at the show
Yeah.
in the front row.
That's
Like,
so funny. So
yeah,
funny.
that was me.
Yeah, at the Andy Video show, I was 19, and that was my first ever show. And I tried to do photo and video on my T6i with a kit lens and a
Yeah.
nifty 50, and that was
Nice.
like all I had. And I forgot my battery. I only had one battery. The battery in my camera was all I brought with me by accident. So that was a fun experience. I got to the very end of Andy's set, and then my battery died when they started crowd surfing, so I don't have any photos or video of them crowd surfing on the floats, which I had seen on socials up before then. I was like, oh, I gotta get that, and then my camera died. I'm like, crap. So I have pictures in my phone and video on my phone of that, but I shot that, and then I shot Sadie Robertson's tour. Like 2 weeks later, I got invited to shoot that show by the same person that got me into Andy's show. And then the following year, I shot Winter Jam, and then I shot the Social Club show, and I shot Winter Jam like 4 years in a row. So I've shot for Andy like 2 or 3 times at this point, I think, 2 times, and then Lecrae has shown up every time Andy's played. So I've unofficially shot for Lecrae like every time. And then I mean we did like the Hulvey show together, and the Social Club show together in 2020. And I've shot for Elevation as well, Elevation Worship, and all 3 Hillsong bands, which is like a Pokemon kind of gotta catch 'em all challenge for me. I shot for United in 2019, and then I was like, I gotta shoot for the other 2 now. So then Worship played a show with Elevation at the end of that year. I got that, and then the Winter Jam in 2020, just before COVID, they came to Atlanta in February. Young and Free was there, and so I was like,
I was
between May of 2019, February 2020, I got all 3 Hillsong bands like I wanted, which is kind of cool. So yeah, anyway, I've shot a lot of different shows.
Also, the most important show of all the ones that you've shot.
Yep.
Manic Nights.
Oh yeah, Manic Nights.
Tickets. Go buy them. Actually, this podcast
it's gonna be over before
After, but
there will probably be a Manic coming up soon when this episode comes out. Buy your tickets wherever it's at.
Manic is super fun. So at Manic in March, I don't even know if I talked to you about this, but since there were so many other people crawling around there with cameras and stuff, and I'm like, I'm just kind of here to hang. I can't go on stage or backstage or anything. I'm just like, I'm just gonna have fun. So I just shot on my 18-35 with a flash all night. Like that was, I challenged myself to just do that.
Yeah.
And it was super fun. I think I put a filter on too. I think I have the Prism Lens Effects, like light dream filter or whatever it's called. So I shot with that, set up the whole night, and got every shot with that, which is super fun. Like RG showed up and played Praise when it was still on SoundCloud, which it was up until like a week ago.
New Hollywood is actually finally
I
coming
can't
out.
believe it's actually coming out.
I didn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, I'm not believing this until I pre-save it.
Yeah.
Because like every
real.
time I've talked to him for the last like year, he's been like, yeah, man, like it's done.
Every like
it's done.
3 months he's tweeted, New Hollywood is coming. I'm not going to
Like-
be RG anymore. Blah blah blah. Like he keeps changing it.
Every time I'll talk to him at shows, I'll be like, all right, so like he'll be like, oh, it's done. It's just sitting on this person's desk.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on this person's desk waiting on it to get pushed through, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's finally here. So
Yeah, it's finally here. Did you buy the Praise shirt?
there's a Praise shirt.
Yeah. If you pre-save, it should have kicked you to getting a Praise shirt that like glows in the dark. It's
It
a
did
pre-save
not-
exclusive.
It did not.
Okay,
kick
well,
me
go
to
try to
that,
click
but
the link
I'm gonna
again because
pre-save
I bought it.
again.
It's only $35.
Like,
but it's like
glow in the
reflective.
dark?
It's reflective.
That actually sounds pretty sick.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I'm waiting for mine to come in, but I'm excited for New
Dude.
Hollywood at
So,
long last. Yeah.
The Winter Jam, I feel like
Yeah.
I have to go into the story of the wildest Winter Jam of all time. It was
Yeah.
2021. That was
Uh-huh.
the year I had 5 photo passes.
Right. Yes.
To Winter Jam.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Did you need 5?
No. So normally
That
how
is
shows work
hilarious.
is like you email a manager and you will get like a photo pass and you just like slap the sticker on you or whatever and you're
Right.
good for the night.
Yeah.
Usually you have to like fight with security because they just don't want you there. Or they also security doesn't know who's who and so
No.
they just like to make everyone mad.
Yeah.
But I emailed for the show as soon as they announced it. I emailed my 2 connects that I had there, and they were like really solid connects, like people that work in the Winter Jam office, and then like one of the headliners, like directly through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I get nothing for like 6 months or whatever, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
And it's like a week before the show, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not going. No email back, and so you know what? I was like, I'm not taking no for an answer. And I've been known when I used to shoot shows a lot, I was known as the guy who didn't take no for an answer. That they kind of would make fun of me for it. But you know what? I think it's a positive trait sometimes.
I think it's worked out.
But I emailed everyone. So I start hitting up like artists, managers, like the openers, these dudes I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Go all the way down to messaging. I ended up messaging like the drummer for one of the bands. And I was like, get me in, whatever. Day before, nothing. The
Yeah.
most I've gotten is I'll check with someone.
Yeah.
And the morning of, I just have plans to do nothing the whole day because I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going. It's whatever. I was like, and I wasn't planning on going, paying money, and not shooting. I just didn't want to do that. And I woke up to 3 different emails giving me passes. Somebody from Hillsong gave me one. I think somebody from Red gave me one.
Yeah.
I think one of Crowder's people gave me one.
Yeah.
I was
You
like,
got like every band.
I was like sick.
Did security mess with you less for having 3 photo passes?
No,
they're
they
like,
only-
this guy is important. We can't mess with him.
So they ended up only giving me one. Just because they were like, I feel like you only need one. We're not going to give you 5 of the same sticker.
Yeah.
And so I have 3 day of. And as I'm in line when I got there, I had 2 more come through. Some of them were like 2 from the same band. Like the drummer and then like the like guitarist both got me one. And so I just remember seeing the Winter Jam list and it just says Dalton Lewis 5 in parentheses. And then like everyone else it just says like I remember yours came out, it was like Bryan Fandrey 1.
Yeah.
And I was like
Yeah.
I feel like I broke some form of a Winter Jam record. Like I was joking with Garrett that night because he was on the tour. He was like, you probably have more clearance than I do right now.
Yeah.
That was
That's
such
funny.
a wild night.
Yeah, all my Winter Jam experiences have been really different. So 2018 was my first, and I got that one. So basically, there were a couple of guys, Eater and Cole, I think are their names, have a company called Big Time Productions. They shoot for like Luke Bryan or something now, I think. Like they shoot for some huge country artist. But they were the videographers for Winter Jam for like multiple years in a row. So I was like, oh, those guys are really cool. They live locally. I kind of want to meet them. That'd be sick. So I shot the Andy show through a connection at Woodstock that worked for Premier Productions that my parents and I knew. And then she was working the Live Original show a few weeks later, and Cole and Eater were shooting it. She's like, hey, I want to introduce you to them. I had not said anything to her about them. So like, sick. That's awesome. So I got to meet them. I got their contact info. I got to talk with them. Super new to everything at that point still on my T6i. And then for Winter Jam, they were on Winter Jam again, and they were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get you a pass. And my Connect from Premiere wasn't sure if she would be able to get me a pass, but they were able to get me one. So I got in through them first year. Second year, I don't even think they were there anymore. They had moved on. I think I got one through an artist or something like that, or the tour itself.
Yeah, I think it was through the tour itself because we both had the same Connect.
Yeah.
That we would both use.
So then 2020, the tour stopped replying. Artists wouldn't reply to me either. So the year that you got 5 passes.
Yeah, they canceled. They shut down their media pass thing because every city they would have 20 people there.
Yeah. So they stopped replying, but I was working at Passion, Cumberland at that point. It was a pop-up in a high school, working production there. The production manager got the contact for the tour manager for Winter Jam and emailed him. It was like, hey, on my behalf. And was like, hey, I have a guy that works for me. He's really great. He wants to shoot this show. Are you able to hook him up? And he got me past that way.
Nice.
And then COVID happened. 2021, Winter Jam still did happen, but it was socially distanced at my church, funnily enough, because we seat 7,000 in our auditorium, and there's deep roots to Winter Jam in my church.
I've been to
the families that started it.
I've been to many concerts at Woodstock.
So last year, 2021, I was able to get a pass because I was on staff there, and so I got all access for the first time in 2021. So I've been to 4 Winter Jams shooting. I wanted to get this year, but I don't think anybody got back to me, and I just didn't pursue it.
Just wait till the day of. You'll get 5 passes.
Yeah, I was hoping for that this year, and it didn't work out. But I've had 4 different experiences with getting into Winter Jam. So there's a lot of different routes you can take to get into different shows. I know that you've just opened back doors to get me into some shows too, low key, and it's always a different experience, and there's always different rules. I've also gone through State Farm Arena itself to get a pass for a show. It's been wild. It's been a lot of different experiences over the years with different shows.
There have definitely been shows where I will just kind of do one of these.
Yeah.
And just kick the door away.
Yeah. The last actual show I shot was at the Loft Center Stage. Chris Renzema. And I walked up with my bag and I was just like, hey, I have an email from the manager. And I did actually have an email from the manager from April. The show got pushed back, so it was in November. But I was just like, yeah, I have an email from his manager. I can shoot the show. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll just check your bag, make sure there's no weapons. And they didn't ask a single question. They didn't see the email. Yeah. They didn't ask for proof. Nothing. They didn't give me any pass. There was nobody else shooting. So I just went and hung out in the pit. Nobody asked a question.
Center Stage.
It was great. It was so chill.
Nobody cares at Center Stage.
Nah.
Half of the, every time I go there, half the security guards are baked. They don't want to be there. They're just especially
whatever. Not for some weird Christian show.
Exactly. They don't care. The bartenders get bored because the only person that gets a drink is the 50-year-old dad who had to bring his kids.
Yeah. Or the bar is just serving water.
Yeah, exactly.
And then someone comes and turns it to wine, and it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
How is this a thing?
Oh man, but yeah. So Charlie, you are going to have your first. I guess I would say first super small show experience this weekend, correct?
Super small show, yeah.
Okay, because I feel you've been to big shows before.
Well, I wasn't even here. Okay, so fun fact about me: I've really only been to one proper concert in my life. I've been to at Winter Jam once or twice, just going with the church and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've only ever intentionally been I'm gonna go see this artist once, and it was Andy Mineo in Neverland 2.
Yeah, nice.
So
I bought a ticket to that show and I didn't go because I didn't want to go by myself, and I wish I had now.
You could have come with me.
I know. I ended up knowing other people that went too, that I didn't know they were going until after. I'm like,
yeah, Garrett. Okay. Garrett was there. Swayze was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Swayze decided to go day of, and I was
something he would do.
And I was like, dog, you have to have COVID tests or whatever. And he goes, oh, I have one. I was like, oh, you went and got one? And he was like, no, I just keep one on my desktop. And I just changed the dates out. And I was oh my goodness. I mean, I'm not saying I haven't done that before, but yeah.
We don't admit to anything.
I don't admit to anything at all, no.
hypothetically. But no, I haven't been to a Manic Nights yet. I've always had something else come up.
They're fun. I had a lot of fun.
So I'm excited. I still haven't bought my ticket. I got to do that as soon as I leave here.
I think too. I have this kind of theory that smaller shows are better than bigger shows by a long shot.
Yeah.
Every arena show that I've ever been to or shot, like it's not a bad experience, but they're just not. They're not great. I'm like, whoa! I'm here listening to this artist with 20,000 of my closest friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like a small show, like one of the best shows to date that I've been to is that Social Club show at Vinyl, which is like a 250 person venue.
Yeah.
I remember we packed it out. We like broke fire code that night. I remember some people got in trouble for that because we let I think there were like 300 people in there or something.
Yeah.
And those shows are just so much hyper, so much harder, and like Manic, like it's not a big show.
Manic was popping off when the like DJ to warm everybody up came out. Like,
when
people were just
Johnny
going
came
nuts
out,
for like 3 hours straight, and that just doesn't happen at arena shows.
Yeah, no, and like Johnny came out there and turned on like some Caleb Mitchell, and like
People were just going nuts.
One of the hypest videos of the entire night is the entire crowd just, I'm gonna go and get it, and like none of the artists have even walked out on stage
nobody's
yet.
seen anybody yet. They haven't even turned the lights on. People are just going insane.
But yeah, you know, so it's pretty hype.
Manic is wild. Social club shows are wild. Like, especially bands that have really tight, really hype fan bases. Like so I went to the King's Kaleidoscope show in April or May.
Crazy.
And it was incredible. It was just so awesome. Gable Price and Friends opened, and they have like, they're blowing up right now. I feel like I'm watching them on social media, and they're just like, everything they're releasing is just getting so much hype. A bunch of my friends listen to them all of a sudden, and I'm like, okay, like they were awesome. This is sick. King's Kaleidoscope has such a tight, unique fan base. They opened with like 3 of their oldest songs in Atlanta, and
cool.
Everybody knew every word.
Yeah.
Like the whole crowd was there for them.
One of the like almost eerie moments that I remember ever doing concerts was a show you were there for as well.
Yeah.
I remember it was the first time my parents let me like drive by myself.
Oh, was it the Zeal tour?
I think it was the Zeal tour. Yeah. Was what it was. But no, I'd been able to drive, and like they'd let me drive from like church and back, which is like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But like we were out of town at this conference, so we were like not really out of town, but we were staying at a hotel in like Duluth, like the far side of Duluth, and this show happened. My dad was like, "All right, I can take you." It's like cool. And Day gets there, and he like messed up his knee or something. He's like, "I can't take you," and I was like, "Oh no, guess I gotta drive to Atlanta by myself." And they're like, "No, you're not gonna do that till you're 18." And then finally they're like, "All right, fine." And after that, I was like, "Cool, so I can drive to Atlanta now? I've done it before, yeah." And so that allowed me to do more shows.
Yeah.
But no, they were doing The Prayer.
Yeah.
That song, and there's like an instrumental break in the middle, and as soon as they did that, all of the lights cut off. The room is pitch black because there's no windows, no nothing, no bathroom lights even.
Yeah.
Pitch black to a point I can't even see my hand in front of my face. And there's 600-700 people in this room, dead quiet.
Yep.
I can't even hear breathing. I can't hear instruments. It was one of the eeriest but also coolest moments.
Yeah.
And like after it's like silent for a second, it's when like the like hard instrumentals come in and they just go crazy. But that has to be one of the like best moments at a show I've ever been to.
Yeah, they did it similarly at this past tour too. Like they did, like I said, they did 2 or 3 of their oldest songs. Like they did straight up like hymn arrangements that they had from like their very first album, like before they were really even what they are now. And then they did a prayer. And those were their 3 opening songs. And Chad comes up after and he's like, those are probably the 3 riskiest openers we could have picked. Like the 3 riskiest opening songs that we have done on this entire tour. Because they were changing it every night. And it was awesome. Like I went with a friend that is also a huge Kings fan. And we both loved it. I wish that I'd shot the show to a degree, but I was also just happy to be there. It was so fun.
I think from the night that I went, one of my favorite memories was just words.
Yeah, I was just thinking that
John,
too.
what a guy!
John, oh
I
my
just remember
gosh.
during the VIP question and answer, they're all like Chad and everyone is sitting out there talking to the fans.
Yeah.
And John just walks in and like tries to climb over like the photo pit like banister.
Yeah.
And just falls on the floor. Causes a whole, like fully intentional, just causes the whole scene. He goes, "Oh, what's up, guys?" And like, and bro, and Gertrude.
Yeah, Gertrude.
I forgot
Oh my
Gertrude
gosh.
was a thing.
Gertrude.
Do you know about Gertrude?
I don't know about Gertrude.
So you know the thing.
I'm picturing a large Dutch woman with a plate of cookies.
So you know, outside of the car dealerships, there's the guys,
The inflatable man.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
he had one of those that he made an Instagram page for.
Yeah.
Ah,
That
okay.
said Gertrude on it, and he brought it on tour
Yep.
every night.
That's fantastic.
And he would put it in the middle of the stage. He would light up, and there would be one song where he would just sit there and like do that with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
It was
Just hilarious.
incredible. But yeah, so hot take for another time. Magic and Bird is one of the top 10 CHH albums of all time, and I will fight
Yeah,
that.
I agree. I love that album.
Any thoughts? Do you disagree? Agree?
I don't love it, but I
Really?
like it.
Really?
Yeah, no. I think Neverland 2 might have become my favorite CHH
Neverland 2 is
album.
really good.
It is really. It's absurdly versatile.
And that
Yeah.
concert experience just solidified it for me. That was the coolest.
Should have gone. I feel
Like,
like
I
an idiot.
obviously have not had much experience outside of that, but I
Yeah.
can't imagine
Well,
how it could have been much better.
and Isaac Dietz did the set design on that one, which
And it
Oh,
was
really?
crazy.
Yeah.
yeah. So
It was so cool.
a crazy flashback. So Isaac Dietz was he did the so Isaac Dietz he did the music video cinema course for the place that I did online film school through,
Oh, that's cool.
which I haven't fully finished it, but I've watched a lot of it. It was pretty
Yeah.
good. Taught people how to do like treatments and the whole
Yeah.
thing. But wild flashback for you, Charlie. You've seen a lot of his stuff, I'm sure, that you didn't even realize was his. So I believe he did the Chainsaw video,
Oh.
the Chainsaw music video, like way back.
Wow, yeah,
he
that
did
is way
stuff
back.
like he did Welcome to America,
Wow.
Cray Button. Like
Wow.
a bunch of these like OG, and he also did a lot of like OG like K-Love type songs, like 10th Avenue North. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if he specifically done one of theirs, but like that style of videos, he used to do those.
Yeah.
I didn't see any music videos out of him for years, and then out of nowhere, he popped up with the Herman Miller video for Andy, which
That
is
one is
that
sick.
was him.
one of the
Okay.
craziest music videos that the space has seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he apparently ended up doing the set design for the whole tour, which I would love
Again,
to get
absolutely
Isaac.
crazy.
I would love to get Isaac on a podcast episode.
Make it happen.
That would be sick.
I will try my best to make that happen. I know he's from here, so it would be sick. But yeah, he's just done some crazy stuff.
Well, the coolest part about like the set design for the tour was, the whole thing was Andy's like childhood bedroom window. And there's like all this greenery like growing in where they're in Neverland, and so this is nature.
Yeah.
But like the coolest part is that you would hear like Words Played's voice, and you know he was coming out, or whoever's voice, and they would pop up in Andy's bedroom window.
Oh, they would
And
like
they'd be
climb through the
hey,
window.
Andy, you want to come? You want to hang out? Like, and it was just like knocking on the bedroom window of like,
That's
hey,
so
awesome.
you
sick.
gotta be quiet, dude. My parents are asleep. And it was just like
That's-
so cool to see like the theatricality of it.
That is so
That's
awesome.
awesome.
They couldn't climb through the bedroom. It was not big enough.
Ah.
I think someone tried. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was such a sick tour. I got to hear a few like tour stories here and there from Garrett, and that was it was just
Yeah.
sick. I wish I would have gone. I love watching all the content from it though.
Same.
It looked dope.
Yeah.
But yeah. So so you work in church media,
Yeah.
in church socials. You do that thing.
Yeah.
So break us down a little bit. What does that look like? What is your
Yes.
your process with that or whatever?
So, the current scope of work right now is really so. I work at a big church. Obviously, I mentioned before we seat 7,000 in our main auditorium. Our second room is the size of most churches' whole buildings, which is seats like 2,000. So we're a very large church. We have a lot going on all the time. We have a lot of auxiliary ministries and events that happen. A lot of external stuff that uses our space. So. My primary responsibility, I'm a production associate, is like my official title right now. I basically set up and deliver like AV setups across the campus. So I will set up and support things like TV carts or installed TVs or portable sound systems or installed sound systems, stuff like that. So we have classrooms of varying sizes that need different things throughout the week, and some of the things are portable, and so they just need to go places and they need somebody to fix it if something goes wrong. You saw me get a text before about that before we started recording, like, hey, the sound's not working on the TV, help. So I help stuff like that usually. But I also get the opportunity to do some creative stuff. So I've video directed on Sunday mornings before. We do 2 services, a traditional and contemporary service, like traditional with full choir orchestra, contemporary more like elevation or like passion style, like just band, like 3-4 worship leaders, stuff like that. And more modern music. So we have 2 different vibes. I've video directed for both of those. I've been camera op for both of them many times. And then I've also done like a bit of visual design for stuff there. A few months ago for our kids camp, I was one of the production staff members that went on that. And I was like the video editor for the camp that week, so I did recap videos all week, and then I created all the visual content for it. We even shot a music video for the camp with a song that we were trying to get the kids like kind of hyped on and get them to connect to. So I got to kind of like conceptualize and direct a music video and shoot and edit all that, and then a lot of visual design.
Did you do that in the same week that you edited a recap video?
No, the music video was done a few weeks before the camp.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
I was about to be like, did you sleep that week?
Not really.
That's much more my world is camp stuff and camp contact.
Well, we were doing a recap a day, so we did 3. We did 3 recaps in total, and then also I had to help. Like there were only 2 staff members there, and then a couple like high school students as volunteers. So I was like one of the people with like actual say there as far as like production stuff, staff wise. And so I was like, I helped load in and load out as well. So we loaded in a whole stage, a whole setup, projector lights, drape, truss, the whole 9. And then we had to load it all out too. So setting all that up, getting all the camera gear in order for volunteers to shoot on, and then editing everything down. So yeah, like I said, a lot of hats. And I'm also kind of acting as the producer for like our kids services, because we have like a whole kids service space, which fits a couple hundred kids as well every Sunday. So I get volunteers set up for success with that, with like per presenter playlists and lighting cues and getting mics and everything in audio world in order as well. So
wild unrelated thing that I just thought about.
Yeah.
There was a church. I thought of it because it was very similar to Woodstock. So yeah, there's this church in Birmingham called it's called Hunter Street, and I went out there for Unashamed tour in 2019. And it was the most interesting church. So they had a sanctuary very similar to Woodstock Sanctuary, pretty big. I think they held about 4,500.
Yeah.
And they had a second sanctuary that was like down the hall, and it was the like. I guess the international sanctuary is what they called it.
Okay.
It was more, they had like all the countries' flags that were like represented. And it was a very, like the worship was like styled very differently. I don't remember exactly what like culture it was kind of like modeled from, but it was a very like 2 completely different styles of worship services, and it was really cool because I mean that place was big too, and so they had like 2 like pretty big rooms that were just dope. Like one of them, like I don't know, it was
Yeah.
just dope to like look in the sanctuary and see all the
Yeah.
like flags of all the countries
sick.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Really cool. Anyways,
Yeah, that's
continue.
awesome. Yeah. So that's basically a lot of what I do day to day there now. When I interned there doing social media stuff, I spearheaded all the video content from concept to posting or showing in a service for the high school ministry for a few years. So that started by me shooting weekly recap videos. So every Wednesday night that we met, I would be there shooting video.
Wow.
And I edited those for, like 3 years straight. So I've done like 150
Yeah.
or something, 130 videos just for that. And then I did camps with them too, doing the camp recaps. And I shot announcement videos and all kinds of stuff for them as well. And I even did some graphic design and writing for the socials as well. So I've done a lot of different things around this church growing up there and everything. But yeah, it's been really fun. And the broadness of my work there has really contributed to my like wide range of interests and like interest in learning and abilities to a degree. So
question for you.
yeah.
So obviously we all come from that sort of world where
Yep.
we find ourselves doing a lot of church work and, and social media content.
Yeah.
There are definitely those out there who would say, well, that's, maybe not an important function or not worth budgeting that kind of thing for.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those kind of people who say, do we really need that?
Yeah. Well, I think that COVID and everything that happened with the pandemic a couple years ago, it pushed a lot of churches online, most of them exclusively for a long time, and them having to reevaluate their online footprint in terms of like broadcasting and recording their services. I think that that's one. I think that the content and marketing and social media world in general is kind of a similar thing where churches, I think they undervalue it until they realize that they really need it. I would argue that it's really critical because here's an argument that I've heard for churches on social media that biblically speaking, we can see like Jesus as an example. Jesus always goes and the disciples always go to preach the gospel and reach people where they are.
Yeah.
And where people are nowadays is on social media. So that's a really good argument that I'm really fond of. I think it's a strong argument for why churches need to be on social media because it's not, some people see social media as just like marketing or it's all just fluff or both. Social media can be a place where you can really reach and preach to people and, meet them where they are at. So I think it's a really powerful tool in that way to be able to connect with people. If you see it as less of like a marketing or expanding your reach thing, like you can use social media to get more people in the door, which is great. And that can be a way that you can preach to them and reach them and help them where they're at by making them more aware. That's something that's worth doing, I think, on its own. But also you can use social media as a tool to just reach people that might never step in your building.
Well, another thing I would say too is a lot. I think a lot of people group social media technology all together.
Yeah.
I've ran into a lot of people that are like, "Oh, we don't need that. We would never use that. Why would we want that?" In fact, I, in trying to market to some churches to do some work for them.
Yeah.
With the company, one of our guys called them the other day and. From what I was told to me, it seemed to be this like kind of older like secretary type person, and he was like, "Hi, can I talk to someone about this?" And she just goes, "Oh no, we wouldn't want that."
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
Well, how, can I at least ask?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, well, we just wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of people like that genuinely believe, we don't need that, and like. I feel like a lot of people group them together.
Yeah.
And like I can get behind the idea of okay, maybe dropping $100,000 on an LED wall might not be the best thing to do when like your Sunday school rooms are falling apart. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
You know, but also at the same time, I would say separate those things. Like, yeah, I think it would be a much smarter decision, even something that's like obviously I'm not pulling like verses and references out right now, but I feel like almost biblical to utilize something like social media because it's just such a great tool that is there in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And so many churches that I know are either just have nothing. They have a page that hasn't been touched in like 5 years.
Yeah.
Or it's just the occasional post and it is not good. It's like it's like an old iPhone 4 photo from the wide of the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of churches would benefit more by utilizing that. And I think that's somewhere that they need to put churches need to put money. I mean, you put money into, you have no problem putting money into flyers for events. You have no problem putting money into anywhere else to reach people. And so why are you closing yourself off to the biggest and also cheapest source of that? Because I guarantee most churches would pay less doing things on social media, hiring a company to run their socials, shoot stuff, maybe even pay for some ads. They would spend way less money than they would getting a bunch of stuff printed and all this stuff. So I think a lot of churches are just they're just leaving that entire area neglected and ignored. And I feel like COVID really showed that for a lot of people. Yeah. Because you had a lot of churches who didn't even know how to record or stream services, that the second that hit, they were basically just didn't exist anymore. Right. But yeah, so I think that's just something that people need to be like tapping into a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I say this, like, I think even my church, Woodstock, even though, you know, we're a very large church with a lot of resources and a lot of very talented people on our staff, my department is connected very closely to the creative department. And there's a lot of amazing people there. We don't have a lot of focus on social media ourselves either, really. And I think that that's something that we could definitely do better at as a church as well. And I think here's a really big reason, in my opinion, for why you would want to, or how you can use social media, rather, not necessarily why, because we already covered that. Like you can reach people where they're at. You can encourage people. You can pray for them. You can encourage them to pray. You can challenge them spiritually. You know, sermon clips, different prompts. You can sit down with some staff members with your phone. It doesn't have to be anything high production necessarily. Even sit down with a phone. Like, find some decent lighting, find a room that's not echoey, shoot it outside, get a phone, sit somebody down, a pastor, a deacon, somebody like that, and just have them give some encouragement, have them give a prayer point, have them share a little devotional. It's like a quick 30-second thing, just some thoughts for the day, some things to consider, or make it into a graphic. It doesn't have to be a video. Make a graphic, take a picture, put it in the caption. Yeah. Like, it doesn't take a lot of effort, and those can all be ways that you can encourage people. People can just stumble upon your church and be like, wow, I got something out of that. Even if they never come to your church, you can still impact them spiritually. And you can also highlight church life, and just like, you can highlight how your church functions, what you do, your culture, and you can encourage people to come that may have never found out about you otherwise.
Yeah, and also, it's not like you're saying, you don't have to go drop $50,000 of your church budget on a red and a staff member. Nope. And I'm also not saying you have to hire a company. You know what? There are some churches that have volunteers that do it really well. Yeah, absolutely. There's some people that don't get paid a single cent, do everything on phones. Yeah. But they are educated, they're trained, they strategize it. And you know, they do what they can with what they have. But at the same time, I think if you have the resources to outsource to a company or have a staff member, that's definitely something that, I mean, I definitely think you should be doing that. Because, you know, the amount of churches that have outreach pastors and people with designated jobs to these ministries that do less impact than just a simple social media post could do.
Yeah. yeah, I feel like the potential for social media versus like, handing stuff out necessarily, it can be higher in a lot of situations. And the thing is, you don't have to get rid of that like organic, like person to person outreach. Like probably just about everybody in your church is on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. And if you post like a virtual flyer effectively on your socials, something that is worth sharing for them, something you want to encourage people to, hey, let your neighbors know about this, let your friends know about this. Having them share it on social media organically is even like more effective than just handing one person a physical flyer. And having a digital footprint is really important too, because I certainly look up churches online before I even step in the building. Like, if I know that I'm doing something at X or Y church or whatever, or I am interested in getting involved there, I'm going to go look for their website and I'm going to look for their social media. And if I find their website, so a lot of them, their website's hard to find. If I find their website and their website is old and they don't have any social media links, I'm like, well, I feel like I know nothing about this church now, because if they can't maintain, like, if you can't maintain an Instagram feed or a Twitter feed or something like that, or even a Facebook page, then I don't necessarily trust that your website's up to date either.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this is really representative of where you're at as a church now.
Yeah, for sure.
To wrap it up.
So that's definitely something, and I would love to have you, back on a later episode to go more in depth about this stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe have us prepare a little more material to go through and such. But I definitely think it's a neglected area that a lot of churches could do better in.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no. So to kind of wrap that one up.
Next time, Brian's going to go through his exact export settings.
Yeah,
for every type of video he makes.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. Bring your render settings next time.
Yeah.
Any notes on that?
No. Is it time?
I think it's time.
Brian.
The light just flickered there. That was scary. What's up?
Very, very recent addition to our podcast is closing out with all of our first-time guests with a specific question.
Okay.
Some have called it the most important question of all time.
Okay.
Some have just called it really stupid.
Okay.
Most do. But it is a question you must answer before you leave here today.
Okay.
All right. So here it goes. So if you could, by could I mean you have to pick something. It's no fun if you don't pick anything.
Yeah.
But if you could make any substance, solid, liquid, gas, non-physical, I don't care.
Okay.
If you could make any substance flow in a continuous, never-ending stream out of your belly button, what would it be and why? Now, a couple pointers for you.
Okay.
Whatever you pick, it's going to be the very best of. If you pick money, $100 bills all the time.
Okay.
You're going to ruin the economy if you do that, so I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Secondly, you can slow it down. You can speed it up. I want to say, maybe you can even stop it temporarily, but it'll always come back with a vengeance.
Oh, gosh.
What do you choose?
Ooh. I need a second. Hold on.
Feel free to think out loud. I feel like that would be entertaining.
Yeah.
Like you can break down
what's going on in your brain.
My brain's going like 3 different directions right now. I don't think it would make much sense if I tried to think out loud.
I'm happy to give you any sample answers, but just know you can't use them.
Okay, give me some sample answers.
Right, so money used to be a popular one, but then I started to convince people that you would destroy the economy.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean...
Right, so an example of like a non-physical substance is people have said Wi-Fi or music. Music's my favorite.
What if...
It's a very particular type of person that would want to be able to project music from their body at all times.
I said this on our last podcast, but I just feel like it would change depending on my mood.
Sure.
Which would be really entertaining for me because I just want my life to be like a movie.
Sure.
So I'd be really happy walking into a room with the Darth Vader theme playing, even if it meant like Marvin Gaye was playing when I saw a girl I liked. I think I'd be willing to do that. But I had someone tell me they'd want the Bible in unknown languages, and I was like, fine, that's a noble answer. but you
they want their belly button to speak in tongues.
I said you have to print it out one page at a time. There's got to be some level of inconvenience for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
People have said clean water, and they'd go to third world countries. And
I thought of one that I don't know how it would. This could like low key be like a, it's like a Joker type thing, like a
oh god,
some form of like a laughing gas. It's because you yourself, because it's constantly flowing out of you.
You think you develop immunity?
You would develop immunity within a few days, probably.
Oh my
so,
God.
so you could just like, you know how like a Joker will do that thing where he'll have the thing on his wrist or whatever. He'll like walk in and just be like, or,
yeah.
And then like, all you do is just walk into a room, and then everybody's just done for.
Oh my gosh, that'd be miserable.
Okay, I don't know if this is within the rules, but a cool thought, a cool idea, I think, would be kind of along the lines of the Bible thing, but less noble, I guess, just kind of helpful. But if it could like translate other languages like freely, like if it could just like I guess if it has to be something that comes out of my belly button, then it would print out.
I was about to say, someone says something to you in Spanish, and then the English translation comes out.
Yeah, it would print out
like,
a page with the translation on it. I guess
that's
would be
incredible.
How it would work. Or it could be like a music thing where it just speaks.
Yeah, you just have like an Alexa belly button.
Yeah, like that could be sick.
I don't think the Alexa belly button counts. Maybe it does. I don't know.
That
But it's
would
got to
be
be
wild.
constant. So even when someone isn't saying something in a different language, it's got to print out a blank page.
Yeah.
It prints out a Microsoft test page. A Microsoft printer test page.
It's got like the ink diagnostics and
It'll just be like YouTube captions where it just tries to caption like any random
yes.
noise. It's like
Ambient sounds.
just like trip a little bit or scuff your foot, and it's just like
I like that. I like that a lot.
it trips in Spanish.
You would just the amount of pieces of paper you would have that just say ambient sounds in parentheses would be
Or Minecraft sound subtitles.
Yes.
Like torch burning. air condition running.
That's so funny.
That's a pretty solid. I accept your answer, sir.
Bonus points if it does pets, I think, too. I think that would be cool if it could translate like what my dogs are saying.
So
Oh, I thought you meant if like pets would come out of your
No.
belly button.
Like if it could translate pets as well.
yeah, so I mean that's a pretty solid answer though, overall.
I had a girl say glitter once. She went glitter. And I was like, you would instantly regret that.
I
Sounds
pick
horrible.
up a Hallmark card with glitter on it and I hate my
real.
day for the
Yeah.
rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that.
What-
Alrighty.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid episode. We'll
Any
definitely
closing thoughts?
anything?
Hire us for your social media,
Yeah.
please. We're cheaper than hiring full-time staff, and your church will probably benefit from it. Can almost guarantee.
Almost
definitely.
certainly.
Almost certainly, maybe will benefit.
No,
from
mate,
our
what are you
social media
doing?
expertise.
The salesmanship on this couch needs work. Excellent. Brian, got anything else you want the people to know about?
This camera.
Yes.
Can I plug myself?
Absolutely.
Okay, so hey, I'm at Editor Bryan on Instagram. My website's bryanfandrey.com. I also am kind of sort of starting up a creative company. And fun fact, all the camp visuals from the Woodstock Kids Camp that I mentioned before, all those visual, like pixel sorted backgrounds and stuff like that are available in a pack for free at edtrcrtv.com/store.
Put that on the screen.
Yeah, put that on the screen. edtrcrtv.com/store. You can pick up a pack of 6 4K looping visuals for your church lyric backgrounds, music video needs, whatever you want. It's free.
This is sick.
So
Fantastic.
Well, we'll most definitely be having you back, probably sooner rather than later. But yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to Nerds with a Creative Podcast, the only podcast with less talent than the Kardashian family. Thank you and good night.